Maddox Durkosh. On November 4th, 2012, a 2-year-old named Maddox Durkosh was standing on a viewing deck overlooking the African painted dog enclosure at the Pittsburgh Zoo. The deck had a railing and multiple warning signs clearly telling visitors not to lift children onto it. But Maddox's mother wanted him to see better, so she lifted him over the railing. Within seconds, he slipped and fell 14 feet into the enclosure below. There was a net beneath the platform, but it was only designed to catch small objects like sunglasses or phones. Maddox hit the net, bounced off, and then dropped straight into the enclosure. A pack of 11 painted dogs immediately ran toward him. Witnesses said his mother screamed and tried to jump in after him, but other visitors held her back. The attack unfolded in front of everyone. The dogs attacked while he was still conscious, biting and tearing at his body. He suffered more than 46 wounds to his head and neck. His internal organs were destroyed, and he bled to death before zoo staff could get close enough to reach him. A police officer fired his weapon and killed one dog in an attempt to stop the attack, but the others continued. The tragedy quickly sparked a major debate. The zoo stated that the mother had ignored the warnings and acted carelessly. The family argued that the railing design left children in danger and that the platform itself was unsafe. Both sides pursued legal action. In the end, no charges were filed against the mother. The family later reached a private settlement with the zoo. Shortly after the incident, the viewing platform was removed. Only the dog shot during the rescue attempt died that day. The remaining dogs were transferred to other zoos. The painted dog exhibit was permanently closed, and the space was later converted into a cheetah exhibit. Dawn Brancho. Dawn Brancho was an experienced trainer with 15 years of work behind her. She was especially known for her strong bond with the orcas. Her closest connection was with Tilikum, SeaWorld Orlando's largest whale, weighing more than 12,000 pounds. On that day, she was performing in the Dine with Shamu show, where guests sat by the pool eating while watching trainers interact with the whales. At the end of the show, Dawn lay on a shallow ledge beside Tilikum, rubbing his head as part of the routine. Without warning, the whale grabbed her and pulled her into the water. The grip was fast and incredibly powerful. The audience watched in horror as the massive orca dragged her under and thrashed her around the pool. Staff rushed to respond, throwing nets and food into the water in an attempt to distract him. They tried guiding him through connected pools until he was finally moved into a smaller medical pool. But for 45 minutes, he refused to release her. Trainers and guests could only watch helplessly as she drowned. When her body was recovered, the autopsy revealed the full extent of the violence. Drowning was the official cause of death, but her injuries were catastrophic. Her spinal cord was severed. Her jaw, ribs, and neck bones were broken. Her scalp had been torn off. Her left arm was ripped away, and her left knee was dislocated. Her death led to a ban on trainers swimming with orcas during shows. Patricia Wyman. In April 1996, 24-year-old wildlife biologist Patricia Wyman had just begun what she believed was her dream job caring for wolves at the Halliburton Forest and Wildlife Reserve. The reserve was known for keeping its wolves as wild as possible. Visitors viewed them only through one-way glass, and staff were warned never to attempt direct contact. Only 4 days into her new job, Patricia entered the wolves' 15-acre enclosure alone. Normally, the wolves were shy and avoided humans. But that day was different. As she stepped inside, the wolves stood and began moving toward her. Witnesses later said they circled her, slowly surrounding her within their territory. Before she could escape, she tripped over a fallen tree. The alpha male rushed her first, knocking her to the ground. The rest of the pack followed. They bit into her arms and legs, tearing through skin and muscle, pulling her in different directions. She tried to fight back, but each wolf weighed up to 176 pounds. She lost blood quickly and weakened rapidly. Within minutes, she died inside the enclosure. When police arrived, the wolves were still guarding her body. Officers had to fire shots into the air to scare them away. Experts later said the wolves' behavior had shifted suddenly and unpredictably, particularly the alpha male. No one knows why she entered the enclosure that day outside of feeding time. Once inside, she had no way to escape. Rosa King. On what seemed like a normal morning, 33-year-old zookeeper Rosa King was cleaning the windows inside the tiger paddock at Hamilton Zoo before opening hours. The enclosure housed a fully grown male Malayan tiger named Cesar. Safety rules required a heavy vertical slide and 2 gates to be closed before any keeper entered. That morning, all 3 barriers were left open. When Rosa stepped inside, the tiger had full access to the paddock. Cesar attacked with devastating force. His jaws clamped on her neck, breaking the bones in her spine and severing her spinal cord. She was instantly paralyzed. The bite crushed tissue and bone as his teeth sank deep into her throat. Her arms were torn with deep gouges, and her leg was badly injured by bites and swipes. She lost massive amounts of blood within moments. A visitor looking through the viewing area was the first to notice her body and raise the alarm. The investigation confirmed there had been no mechanical failure. The safety system relied entirely on keepers strictly following procedure every time. Alexis Martinez. On December 24, 2009, trainer Alexis Martinez was working with an orca named Keto, weighing over 6,600 pounds. At first, the training session appeared normal, although reports later said Keto was not responding well to signals. As Alexis swam toward the shallow platform, the orca suddenly lunged. Keto pushed him underwater with his rostrum and rammed him hard in the chest. Trainers at the side tried everything, slapping the water, giving hand signals, shaking food buckets, but the whale ignored all commands. Keto briefly surfaced for air, then returned to Alexis. Witnesses said the orca lifted him partially out of the water and held him in his mouth. When Keto finally released him, Alexis sank motionless to the bottom of the pool. Rescuers attempted to move the whale into another tank, but it resisted and delayed the recovery. The autopsy revealed massive internal bleeding caused by crushing force. His chest suffered multiple compression fractures, and his organs were severely damaged. Zhang Ka Sami. On the morning of September 10, 2025, 58-year-old zookeeper John Rankarasamy, a veteran who had worked with lions and tigers for nearly 20 years, stepped out of his vehicle inside a lion enclosure during feeding time. Safety rules strictly prohibited anyone from leaving vehicles in predator zones. But that morning he did. He left the vehicle door open and stood beside it while lions were being fed. One lion approached from behind and suddenly pounced, knocking him to the ground. Within seconds, the rest of the pride joined in. Tourists watched in horror from inside their cars. Some honked their horns, hoping to scare the lions away, but the animals ignored the noise. The attack lasted nearly 15 minutes. When responders reached him, his injuries were catastrophic. His chest had been torn open. His neck and leg were broken. His body was covered in deep bite and claw wounds. He was rushed to the hospital, but was pronounced dead. Authorities launched a full investigation to determine why he left the vehicle. His family insisted he always followed safety rules and cared deeply for the animals. He had been only months away from retirement. Naladin bin Muntong. On November 13, 2008, 32-year-old Malaysian cleaner Nordin bin Montong climbed over a barrier and entered the white tiger enclosure at the Singapore Zoo. Witnesses said he was carrying a broom and a yellow bucket and shouting as he walked. At first, visitors believed it was part of a show. 3 white tigers approached him slowly. Then one suddenly struck, knocking him to his knees. He tried to defend himself, lifting the bucket over his head, but a second tiger joined the attack. Onlookers screamed for him to move toward nearby water, but his movements only intensified the aggression. One tiger bit into his neck and forced him to the ground. Another dragged him deeper into the enclosure. The attack lasted nearly 2 minutes. Doctors later counted more than 90 wounds. His ribs and skull were broken, and the neck injuries were fatal. Keepers eventually distracted the tigers using long poles and retrieved his body. Despite emergency efforts, he was pronounced dead shortly afterward. Investigators later concluded that he had entered the enclosure intentionally, and his death was ruled a suicide.